Hi, my dear Astro family. I hope everyone is doing well and you have got a great month. Today, we will be talking about the upcoming Pluto and Node square. There is still a promotion running for a few more days. All my readings are 30% off, and all my courses and webinars are 40% off as well. So if you are interested, check them out. Now, the Pluto squared nodes, it's a very potent one. So I wanted to talk to you about that. The exact square actually will happen on July 23rd, 2023. Now, Pluto will be back in the sign of Capricorn on 29 degree, and the lunar nodes are going to be on 29 degree as well, Aries and Libra. Most likely, we have started feeling this aspect already because the Jupiter is also squaring the nodes. So, kind of like Jupiter is transferring the light between Pluto and the nodes already. We might be able to say that currently Pluto is on 0 degree of Aquarius. The nodes are around 2, 3 degree. That is also intensifying the feeling, but Jupiter is magnifying that feeling as well. So, first of all, what are the nodes? I feel like the nodes are always something to do with the karmic road we are meant to be taking. So the South Node element is on a global level would be something which we need to fix in the society. So it's going to be in the sign of Libra, and Libra is about peace, harmony, but also the relationships, what we've got. On mundane level, it would be about partnerships, business partnerships, but also maybe the law and legislation as well, which needs a bit of a fixing or at least adjustments. Now, you should remember that the nodes are not physical bodies, right? So when we are talking about like Mars or Venus, they are physical celestial bodies. The nodes are just mathematical points, and it's the representation of the intersection of the path of the sun with the path of the moon. Obviously, the sun and the moon are not the largest, but one of them, I mean, the two of the most important parts of our chart, right? So we have got the female archetype and we have got the male archetype here. Both are about you, right? The moon is something to do with your emotional responses, your feelings, and the sun is something to do with your spiritual essence overall. So, I kind of feel like that this Pluto is asking us to merge the sun and the moon basically in our chart. So, and that would be our karmic contract, basically. Why on earth I'm here? And sometimes we're gonna have to alter the path, or we're gonna have to, destroy something right in front of us so that we can get back on the right track. So if we say that the nodes are something to do with the path we are meant to be on, you know, I would like to say that most people, you know, kind of forget about their path. Loads of us, let's be just frank about it. It does take a lot of time or effort as well to recognize why we are here and what we are meant to be doing. And when Pluto comes around, it's going to kick some butts to remind us that, you know what, we altered way too much. We might need to be simplifying things. We might need to go back to basics. Because what Pluto does is that it destroys a certain type of things, right? And then we are meant to be rebuilding them, especially in the sign of Capricorn. But if we go on about the sun and the moon combination, we have got our physical and emotional needs. We have got the parenting involved here as well. One of them is the yin and the other one is the yang energy, right? So the feminine and the masculine side of ourselves. One is listening to the intuition, and that would be the moon, right? While the other one is focusing a little bit more on the long-term goals. So uh, I tend to be looking at the nodes as in we can talk about generational karma and all those type of things. And I'm not suggesting that it's something I don't believe in, but what I'm trying to say here is that I tend to be a believer, obviously, as a practitioner of family constellation therapies, that all originates from our immediate family, because some of these subconscious messages are passed down onto us, right? So I feel like we are all somehow coded, usually by our parents or the environment or the society. So I would call it the karmic inheritance, pretty much. And Pluto is the planet of fear, and so therefore, I think there is a reminder here to face our karmic inheritance, to kind of make it vanish, to make it disappear, to overcome some of those obstacles and fears. Remember that Pluto will be in the sign of Capricorn, right? And Capricorn is associated with not only the society, but it's the representation of inner struggles as well. Why inner struggles? Because Cancer is the inner peace. So the opposing sign is Capricorn. So that would be the representation of the inner struggles, what we go through. So therefore, it is the fear or the phobia or whatever your inner struggles are, your inner insecurities. So Pluto wants to destroy that completely, or it wants you to dig deep and discover those, right? Capricorn is a parenting sign as well. So I really believe that there is a major ancestral karma invitation, or like the clearance of that, right? Healing your karmic path, you know. But at the same time, I tend to describe Pluto as the light at the end of the tunnel. We go through an extreme amount of darkness before we get there. But once we see that, it does represent somehow enlightenment as well. So we're gonna have to see through the dark moments and what's going to be the end story of that. But something always needs to be released with Pluto, right? So imagine that you are kind of like at a crossroad, and that side of the road looks very appealing, but I'm not gonna go on to that for some reason. We all have got something to heal, and Pluto is kind of like this shamanic healing type of energy. It is the transformation of your basically spiritual and emotional essence overall, right? I kind of believe that Pluto is like an evolutionary process, what we go through. Now, North Node is the future. So because North Node will be in the sign of Aries. For me, that is about making peace with who we are, making peace in a sense, or coming to terms with our strength. Pluto is strength as well. So we're going to have to make ourselves stronger somehow. But we have got the South Node in the sign of Libra, which is pretty much going to talk to you about, what, sometimes like manipulative people, Pluto needs to go. Or someone who is trying to control us, someone who is manipulating us, someone who has got maybe some shady secrets over us and that is holding us back. You know what? I'm just going to suck it up. Let them release that secret about me, because you know what? At the end of the day, I might come out as a winner. But also the South Node element is often in the sign of Libra is about looking into the mirror. Do you see what you should see? Do you like the reflection of yourself? Right? Pluto will be in the sign of Capricorn, which is a representation of your status and work, your professional life as well. So I feel like, again, we have got the self and the balance getting activated here with the nodes. So do you have balance between how much time you spend with your loved ones, or do you actually love your work way too much and there is not enough time left for the self, right? Or it could talk to you about your spouse and their work, or the spouse and their working rights as well. I feel like some of the questions are here with this constellation is, where do we come from? Where are we heading? I can imagine, for example, that there is going to be a politician, for example, at a court, kind of getting sued, for example, right? Or maybe a country is gonna try to show off with the power they have. Maybe they're gonna make some empty threats, or maybe they're gonna make some threats, for example, using atom bombs. Unfortunately, Pluto rules anything to do with nuclear weapons. For me, it's like a world leader who might feel a little bit belittled here, and then they want to show their own power. Now, we can see, for example, in this chart, it's right on the screen. I know I put on loads of asteroids, but I was just looking at what is getting involved here. And for example, you can see that Pluto will be in a tight aspect to Haumea and Sedna too. Now, and Haumea will be on the south node. Now, I did make a video about Haumea in the sign of Scorpio. Haumea was the mother of Pele, who was the goddess of volcanoes. So therefore, Haumea can represent volcano eruptions as well. Her children were born from her body parts without any help from males. And she was kind of like the teacher of women how to give birth. But she also had the possibility to go through purification that helped her get younger. So again, there is an aging process here. There is the fertility matters which are coming into the picture. By the way, she was a Hawaiian goddess of fertility, childbirth, creation altogether. And also she represents politics and war as well. So we have got some type of, yeah, that kind of threat. I'm pretty much feeling it through this chart, unfortunately. Um, but let's see, I kind of feel like that Haumea is about inner strength, kind of like a spiritual connection to that house wherever it is located in your chart. By the way, its nickname was Santa. It has got two names. Haumea has got the possibility to give birth to every single being, such as minerals and humans and flora and all those type of things. So it is so much connected with birth rights. Now, if you look at, for example, the North Node being in the sign of Aries, that's all your birthright as well. So again, I've mentioned this in other videos, but can I give birth? How many kids can I have? These type of questions might be popping up overall. So unfortunately, I think this could talk, who may also, from a lower manifestation point of view, can talk about toxic relationships as well, or when we feel stuck somehow too. And I mean, Haumea and Scorpio has been squaring each other since 2020. So in the sign of Libra, which is about the choices we make, Haumea is kind of like the seed, what we plant, and Capricorn is responsibility. So there is an element of the need to take responsibility for the choices we have planted. Now, I'd like to mention that Pluto and Haumea will be in aspect till 2028. So this is a slower process. I think this is going to be the fourth exact square what is taking place between them two. But this is definitely a constellation which is inviting us for change, to search for spiritual answers. By the way, it could also talk about metaphysical studies. It could talk about volcano eruptions, some type of disasters as well. So we're gonna see what's happening with that. So this is one of the major aspects. Now, uh, there was an eclipse happening, right? In April, and that also highlighted Pluto as well. We had the Pluto eclipse square going on. So therefore, you know what, whatever happened around April 20th, it's a highlight already of what to expect when Pluto goes back into the sign of Capricorn. Um, I think also this could represent searching for the truth, working right, understanding the self, finding the deepest truth of your own, the elimination of toxic people, and also looking at what type of attachments you have got, because they need to go. But it can also amplify or intensify the power hunger what you have, or the way you abuse your own power. And unfortunately, people to be in power, they do whatever it takes. I also can imagine situations where the government is going to get forced to do something, for example. It's kind of like imagine a situation where there are the minorities, for example, and then they're going to demonstrate or they just want to gain voice somehow. Now, Pluto is in Capricorn. So for me, this is going to talk about housing issues, who can afford it. Obviously, the banking system is going to come into the picture still. Capricorn and Taurus rules these governmental facilities, the banking world. Or it could talk about the price of the construction workers and all the building materials, for example, pretty much Capricornian as well. Um, so I feel like these might be topics here. Now, also remember that we are always talking about cycles, right? So we are planting the seeds when it comes to a conjunction. So Pluto and the nodes had a conjunction alongside with Saturn as well. It started sometimes in 2019, April, I believe, right? So that was the initiation point. As soon as Saturn joined the game, we had the COVID going on. Now, the square point is always a crisis situation somehow. So we have got something around whatever initiated in 2019 April till 2020 January, which is going to take a peak. Let's be frank, around that time, we were manipulated, right? Manipulated on a collective level, right? And then here it shows up that there is again some type of manipulation, which is going to bring some doubt or vulnerability in, excuse me, in the individual's life. Now, what other things we see? Pluto is bang on opposing the sun. And the sun is on 29 degree of Cancer. For me, this could talk about, for example, a death of a politician, or a politician is going to resign, for example, or it could talk about royalties as well. So something, a secret is being revealed about a royal family member, for example. And here I'm not necessarily talking about the UK. There are other royalties in the world as well. I just want to put it out there because I got some critiques that it was not really nice to make a video about Meghan Markle and so forth. So I'm not necessarily referring to them. So death of a politician, the resignation of a politician, or maybe people are actually kind of wanting a politician to resign, to get arrested, for example. These type of things I pretty much can imagine happening in the world. But on a personal level, this could talk about in what ways do I have to have control in my life? What do I want to commit towards to? How to act wisely, for example, at my workplace or in relationships, but most likely I'm going to have to learn to trust my own instincts as well. Remember, this is a Pluto retrograde, right? So Pluto has been retrograde, I believe, from the 1st of May. And every year Pluto goes retrograde for about 230, 240 days. Now, Pluto will go back into the sign of Capricorn on the 11th of June, by the way. So whenever Pluto is active, we are encouraged, especially in the sign of Capricorn, of course, to remember something old, right? Or go back to some of the old methods. Maybe we're going to have to, maybe the initial use of a new method did not work out. So we're going to have to go back a little while to use an old one to make a good use of that. But also, it is definitely an invitation to revisit your past and clearing the past so that the future can look better. So with Pluto, we need to do some introspection here, right? And in the sign of Capricorn, the deeper understanding of the past and how it affects the future at the same time. By the way, we do have got Chariklo, for example, on 12 degree of Aquarius as well, which is pretty much talking to me about a collective healing as a humankind. So that's also a little bit prominent, but maybe I'm gonna make a separate video about that. But Pluto retrograde in the sign of Capricorn asks us to reflect on our past actions, to have a better understanding of why certain things are happening to us. Why, for example, we are in a crisis situation. I mean, politically, financially speaking, Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn since 2008. As soon as it ingressed, it was a financial crisis situation, right? Now, at the end of it, there are rumors about having again a crisis situation. But also, in the meantime, we had the COVID, we have got the Ukrainian-Russian war, we had issues with petrol and energy consumptions and all these type of things. So most likely this is going to be needed to revisit these type of topics. Now, imagine that Pluto in Aquarius wants to kind of launch, for example, digital currencies. This Pluto retrograde could pretty much talk about that, you know what? It's just not working yet. There are some glitches in it. We're going to have to fix that and all those type of things. But obviously, Pluto is the fear as well. So people might be really afraid of us being tracked and all those type of things as well. Pluto will be retrograde till 11th of October, and then it's going to go back into the sign of Aquarius in January. And then next year in September, October, it's going to go retrograde again, but it's going to go back into the sign of Capricorn, but only for a couple of months though. So when Pluto is retrograde, we need to reflect about power, your own power, and your control issues. But also, you're going to have to look at what is happening with your money as well. I would like to mention that recently, very interestingly enough, as soon as Pluto went retrograde, kind of like the real estate market started crashing in England. Quite a massive crash. So I'm still expecting this to happen. As I mentioned, I think from 2023 onwards, with the North Node and the South Node being in Taurus and Scorpio, I believe that it was gradually decreasing, but not too much. It's just going to be a steady, slow, little movement. But now, when things are going to be getting faster, I think this process is going to get faster. I think properties will drop in prices. Now, other thing, what we see here in this chart, so we spoke about the Pluto-Sun opposition very briefly, but also the dispositor of the South Node, Venus, has got a very tight in conjunction or quincunx to Pluto as well. So and Venus is on Regulus. Now, this could talk to me about, for example, a female royalty artist who is going to go through some major transition or transformation in their life. Um, you know, also Saturn is in the sign of Pisces. So we are still expecting something to, um, happen in the music industry. Unfortunately, we lost Tina Turner, who I absolutely adored. If I want to be honest, I wasn't expecting her. I expected someone else, but I haven't looked at Tina's chart for a while. But I think this is going to be affecting Celine Dion, unfortunately, big time. I mean, the South Node is going to be happening on her moon. Pluto is going to be squaring her moon as well. And the Pluto Venus in conjunction is going to be happening on her natal Jupiter in the first house. So I believe that she might be uh, a period of time when she's going to be in hospital, for example. Um, and I pray that she's going to get better because I love that woman to bits. I think she's extremely talented. But I just wanted to mention, unfortunately, it's a possibility. Because Regulus is the royalties, and obviously a Venus would be a representation of someone we absolutely adore and love. And typically it would be a female artist, kind of like the female queen of the entertainment industry in the sign of Leo. But by the way, this could pretty much talk about a female member of a royalty as well. And then also we have got Venus not, I mean, yeah, so Venus has got a conjunction to Lilith, and then we have got this Pluto quincunx Venus as well. Now, Pluto and Venus for me is a little bit like an oil and water aspect this time around, especially with a quincunx. So it does bring in, some traumatized relationship matters. Maybe you're getting traumatized of what is happening in your relationship department. Maybe it might indicate a loss, financial loss. Also, it can indicate some element of a loss of a relationship as well, if we are unable to make changes in our relationship patterns. Often we might be feeling betrayed or by our partner, or we feel that they are dishonest towards us. So trust issues, which are pretty much coming up here very significantly, and there needs to be an element of a healing and release, right? Often we are holding on to the partner so badly that we're going to have to learn to let them off the hook, basically. But it might be bringing in some relationship lessons for us. And the house position is going to talk to you about what type of relationships these are. Maybe it's the relationship to money, relationship to a friend, and so forth. And then Venus at the same time has got this conjunction to Black Moon Lilith as well. So for me, this is about something which is stagnant. Remember that Lilith decided, she was the first wife of Adam, right? And she decided she doesn't want to stay in, she didn't want to stay in the Eden. So she just decided to kind of leave. Right. So from an opportunity point of view, this is about, again, letting go of something being controlled by a man, but at the same time, going on an adventurous road. Right. By the way, it could really bring in an unconventional relationship as well. Lilith is highly sexual, right? So it could intensify our sexual desires as well, especially with Pluto. So maybe there is an element of intimacy department to fix here. Venus is intimacy, Pluto is intimacy, Lilith is intimacy, and Leo loves intimacy too. So we have got loads of intimacy matter here. So let's see how it plays out. I mean, Lilith can rule the porn industry and so forth. So we might be seeing some changes around that too. Or maybe again, unfortunately, a sex tape is gonna get released, these type of things. Unfortunately, this could be something, but I think it's about uh, breaking out of some type of relationship patterns. This is the major message there. Guys, briefly, that's what I wanted to share about this Pluto and Node squares. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please press like. Thank you and see you soon. Bye-bye.